Alright, continue with the horse now. We begin to remove the upper body of the horse. Okay, now what we want to do is we want to go ahead and go in between our ears here. Okay? We want to kind of cut into here so that we don't get our ears down too as we might say. Do, do, do. Do, 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 do. Go. Now there is no tail on this this horse. It is strictly like an abstract type horse. Take a little bit more off in between them legs, spread that out a little bit. Actually, what I want to do is kind of come to a just kind of like that, see? And it wasn't that the carving, I don't think it was that the carving was so fantastic, because basically the shape of the horse is pretty much now I'm gonna come up here underneath here with the little, that's gonna have to be coming a lot more on our horse here. Be careful in that area. That's real thin in there. That's when you just kind of, but we're gonna come in here. As you get down these areas, of course, you got to be careful. You don't want to take off too much at one time. Just like anything else, I mean, not hard, not difficult carving, as we might say. But it doesn't. Not every piece has to have difficult carving. You know, I mean, it has to be carved difficultly. Well, that didn't come out right, but get the old words tongue-tied. I hope everyone has a nice Memorial Day today. I remember my father, of course, on Memorial Day. He was a veteran. I was a veteran of the Air Force, but did not see combat or anything like that. My father, of course, was a veteran of World War II. And had a, very bad. He fought in the Pacific and was captured and put in a Japanese prisoner of war camp. I think I've referred to that, where he stayed 4 years of his life before he was released in 1945. And the only memories I basically have, my father never talked about, and I think you'll realize that too. Please don't misunderstand me but I've always found that people like my father, who went through a lot in the war, didn't talk about a lot. My father, I never really found out much about my father's captivity in the war until I was almost 18 years old, because he just never talked about it. He didn't like to talk about it. It depressed him. It made him very uncomfortable. Although he had been through it, and suffered terribly, he did not speak of it until I was a much older man. I was much older to truly understand it. And he left a diary, my father's diary, that he kept while he was in the prisoner of war camp. And it is a very hard diary to read. It's very, very difficult to read. I never realized the amount of suffering that our prisoners went through with the Japanese army. And he was on the Bataan Death March and all that, but he never spoke about it much. And I find that out, like I said, and don't to all veterans, but most people that went through terrible, terrible things in their life during the war did not speak about it a lot, or he did, because it made him. As a kid, I never could understand why that he wouldn't watch. I loved the series Combat in the 1960s, but he could not sit down and watch it. Just could not. So anyway, all right. We're doing good here. Starting to take shape. Let me take some of this off in here. But I want to thank all you veterans today for the service that you did for our country. And I thank you so much. I live, like I said, I live with a father who went through tremendous pain and suffering in his life during World War II. But I thank all veterans for everything they've done. And God bless you so much. I'm not a veteran of wars, of foreign wars. I was a veteran of the Air Force, but my wife is a veteran of the Air Force also. Okay, we're doing good here. There was it's really an interesting story. There's some odd habits that my father had that was really hard for me to understand as a boy. But he always kept food in the refrigerator all the time. That was one of the things I asked my mom. He always kept the refrigerator full of food, and even if he had to throw it out, and I thought my father was kind of wasteful. I didn't understand at that time. Thought it was kind of wasteful for not keeping all this food, but I never realized until later that this was sort of a security blanket, that when he'd open that refrigerator, he knew he had food inside, because he starved almost to death so many times in those camps. So I found that out later. It's amazing what happens to people when they go through what they go through. Okay, we're getting down to we're getting there. We're getting down there on the horse.